Good morning, everybody. I just wanted to come on and do a quick Tao of the day. Today I have a workshop happening in about an hour and a half, and so if you're interested in joining me for my workshop today, shoot me a message, shoot me a DM, or check out the links on my check out the links in my profile, and you can join me for my workshop, which is happening in an hour and a half. Other than that, I'm here to take your number between 1 and 81. This is Tao of the day, meaning, pardon me, which means that the Tao Te Ching is an ancient text, and that is at the core of what the Tao of the day is. And the Tao Te Ching has 81 chapters of text on how to help you live a reasonable life, how to help you adjust the way you see the world so you don't have to have the world adjust to please you, because the world is never going to do that. No matter how much we want the world to change for us, we're the ones that have to change the way we see the world, and that will change us. That will change us into more reasonable people that understand that the Tao is connected to all things, that we are connected to the Tao, and that we are the Tao, and that we are connected. So, if you are interested in experiencing a little bit of the Tao, come on up and give me a number between 1 and 81. The Tao was written 600 BCE, and that means that it's considered an ancient text. That is, it was written around the same time that the Old Testament was written, and yeah, so I would love to have you come up and pick a number between 1 and 81. I always like to, if nobody wants to step up off the bat, I will start and I will pick a number. And if you want to come up, I will always pause and be able to come back to the number that I pick. I'm going to pick 27 today. That one's calling me at the moment. Oh, look at that, 27. I know 27, and for some reason, it 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 just called to me. Um, and I know 27 very well. A good traveler has no fixed plans and is not intent upon arriving. And because I know the Stephen Mitchell version so well, I'm going to go ahead and pick 27 from a different translation. I'm just going to pick a random translation. Here's Hatcher. And we'll pick 27 from Hatcher. The able wanderer leaves no trail or trace. The able speaker is without fallacy or error. The able reckoner does not use counting devices. The best closure uses no barrier or bar. And yet, it is not easily opened. The best binding uses no cord or knot, and yet it is not easily loosened. And so, it is the wise ones. And so it is that wise ones are ever so skilled at making the most of others, that no person is forsaken, are ever so skilled at making the most of situations, that no situation is wasted. This may be called practical wisdom, and so the able one is the less than able one's teacher. The less than able one is the able one's resource. To not value one's teacher, to not care for one's resource, however prudent, is greatly diluted. This may be called a tactical mystery. So this is a random, this is Hatcher, this translation. And this translation is the translation of 27, which is a very beautiful text that I have connected to for a long time, which states, "A good traveler has no fixed plans and is not intent upon arriving. A good artist lets his intuition lead him wherever it wants. A good scientist has freed himself of concepts and keeps his mind open to what is. Thus, the master is available to all people and doesn't reject anyone. He is ready to use all situations and doesn't waste anything. This is called embodying the light. What is what is a good man but a bad man's teacher? What is a bad man but a good man's job? If you don't understand this, you will get lost, however intelligent you are. It is the great secret. This is something that I'm very. This is a verse that I'm very familiar with. This is a verse that's very dear to me, and I have engaged with many times, especially with my love Andrea or Andy here on Wisdom. A good traveler has no fixed plans and is not intent upon arriving. You just you go. You don't plan on going. You just arrive. You're not intent upon arriving. Everything is good right here, right now as it is. A good artist lets his intuition lead him wherever it wants. So a good artist lets his intuition lead him wherever it wants. That's an important aspect. I mean, as an artist, I know that, painting sometimes has to be led by intuition, not your plans. You can go ahead and make things look like things, but when you let your intuition show you what it is you need to look at, then you make the best things. You make the things that really resonate with you and very possibly others. But really, I look at art as it's always about the viewer. What the viewer sees is the thing that's most important. A good scientist has freed himself of concepts and lets him and keeps his mind open to what is. See, these three types of people, not actually three types of people. These are three people that we have, three different kinds of people that we have within us, right? We have the good traveler, the good artist, the good scientist. And the good traveler has no fixed plans and is not intent upon arriving. If you can live in a way in which you're not intent upon arriving anywhere, like you're not intent upon having, if you're not intent upon wanting, well, then you have no fixed plans and you can just be here now as you are. The good artist, this is the creator. You let your intuition lead you wherever it wants. You let your life just unfold and you let yourself create this moment as it is, as this moment wants. The good scientist has freed himself of concepts. There is a scientist within each of us, right? And we have concepts. And if we can relieve ourselves of concepts about the way things are, whether that's social sciences or whether that's biology or whatever, it's like, you know, I read a verse yesterday with somebody that was all about being being soft and supple or being hard and rigid. Being hard and rigid, you're a disciple of death. And being hard and rigid in your thoughts, being hard and rigid in your concepts, being hard and rigid in your creativity, being hard and rigid in your traveling, you are a disciple of death. You will move towards death. One has to be open to the possibilities all around you, open to the possibilities of going where you're going and allowing it to lead you where it's going. Kimmy's going to join me, and we'll see if what number Kimmy has, and we can always return to 27. Hey, Kimmy, how are you?
Good morning. I'm good. Good morning, Martin John. I wanted to tell you I was on. I in the morning if I'm not able to come on, I listen, and I was listening to you, and you handled somebody who was very difficult beautifully. I was very proud to be your friend.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, I very rarely have difficult people, but when I do, I try and give them space until they take advantage of that space, and then I go ahead and drop them if that's needed.
Yeah, no, I think there's times for that as well. There's times for that as well. So I just wrote down what you said. So when you said that the rigid thought is a disciple of death, was that the way you put it?
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing because I think that I'd love to listen to these because it's been really cool to see where it fits into the way that I see things and whether or not that's rigid or not, I don't know. So it's really fun. I love it. So I've got a number for you.
Oh yeah, hit
So throw me a 56.
56. Wonderful.
I'm going with my age today.
56. You're not
I
56. We're
totally,
good.
totally am.
Okay, so 56 states, those who know don't talk. Those who talk don't know. Close your mouth, block your senses, blunt your sharpness, untie your knots, soften your glare, settle your dust. This is the primal identity. Be like the Tao. It can't be approached or withdrawn from, benefited or harmed, honored or even brought to disgrace. It gives itself up continuously. That is why it endures.
Very good.
Initial thoughts. You're like,
No, that's
very good.
really good because this is really speaks to me and my personality because I grew up very I had to be very strong to survive. So for me, aging has been exactly this. First question I have for you though, because it's a question if it's okay.
Mhm.
That why is it TAO if it's pronounced DAO?
You can pronounce it Tao.
Oh, do people? Okay.
Mhm.
That's always confused me, so I've always wanted to ask you that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that, like, let's look at rigidity here. Like,
Yeah.
just because it's a T, like, I'm from Chicago, every T sounds like a D. Um,
Oh, there you go. There you
but no, it is, it's also pronounced DAO. It's also spelled DAO. But
go. Okay.
I mean, I can't say where it all, like, that's probably etymology and other things like that, and
Yeah.
translation, and the original Chinese had no letters, they were all pictograms, right? Like, so
Yeah.
so it's about sounds and just errors along the way is my guess.
Okay, thank you. I've always wondered that, and I thought I'll ask today.
Yeah.
So my first reaction is I applaud that one. I think that knowing and not talking is great wisdom.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So one of the things I like, and this one I think has a really beautiful way of doing this. Like, we bring the end to the beginning, because, like, we can read these and we can get into the thing of, like, okay, those who talk don't know, those who know don't talk, those who talk don't know. Okay, that's the beginning. But then it brings us all the way down to this thing where it says it gives itself up continually.
Yeah.
That is why it endures. So, if we can connect those two before we go on to anything else, I think that we'll have a better understanding of what 56 is talking about.
I think that when I see those together, I see the sacrifice of ego.
Yeah.
I see the sacrifice of ego there. So if the full circle is that we shouldn't need to prove that we know, that we
That's,
shouldn't be striving for rightness, right?
yeah.
And then I like the part where it talks about soften your blunt edge. Is that what it was? Something like that?
Yeah, so that comes next. So I want to just kind of finish
Oh,
this
sure.
thought really quick. Is like, it gives itself up. You give up that proving. You give up. Those who know don't talk. Those who talk don't know. If you're talking all the time, you're not giving yourself up. You're not giving yourself up to this moment, to other concepts, other ideas.
Yeah.
And that last line is, that is why it endures. It endures, and it's stating, and this is the thing that we walk away contemplating. It's going to endure by not trying to prove a point. It's going to endure by not speaking. That's interesting, right? Because
Right.
we, in our world, think, like, how can you endure if you're not constantly repeating yourself and marketing and doing all of these things in the world to make sure you're being heard?
Right.
There's that deep faith that, like, how can this endure if you're not overpowering everything else? And
Yeah.
it is in the Tao, right? It is in the Tao that states, like, yield to this. It is the soft that overcomes the hard. It is the quiet that overcomes the loud.
Right. It's a long term
Yeah,
thing.
you're playing the long game.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think all of us know who any of us that have had a season of needing to be right, we know that that's a fruitless engagement.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because our needing to be right keeps other people from being right.
Or connecting. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
And
can't
it's
keep
like, like
Yeah.
yeah, as soon as you want to be right, like you're closing yourself off to others.
I think when I was kids were growing up, I would use the words, is it more important to be right or righteous? Like is it better to do what you know is peace and good, or better for people to think that you bested them?
Yeah,
Right.
right.
Like,
Absolutely.
where are we going to live? Yeah. No, I like the circle of that. That's beautiful.
And then it goes into this block of text that states, close your mouth. This is all the stuff that you can do in order to get to that place of respecting others and respecting the universe as it presents itself and respecting God as it presents itself.
Right.
Close your mouth, block off your senses, blunt your sharpness, untie your knots, soften your glare, settle your dust. This is the primal identity. That last line, this
This
is the
is the
primal
primal
identity.
identity. That's the base, right?
That,
Primal.
yeah, that is the base. That is where you've come from. You've come from a place of closed mouth, block off your senses, blunt your sharpness, untie your knots, soften your glare, and settle your dust. Like,
So, yeah, but so primal means like the essentials, like the
yeah, that's,
fundamental state.
yes, yes.
So
That's
we
how,
get wound up. We get wound up, and that what you're saying, what this is saying is that we need to release what we have. Like we're a tornado, and we brought all this stuff into our life. We need to unspin it out.
yeah.
Okay.
Like we have, like, here are the things, like close your mouth. So that's the speaking part. That's really easy. Block off your senses. Like our senses take us down interesting roads, don't they? We
Yeah.
see something beautiful and we start moving towards it. And as we're moving towards it, we're focused on it and we're missing everything that we're passing while we're going to this beautiful thing because our senses are guiding us through this. And it's like you can you can walk through a very ugly thing and just accept it. And you can walk through a very beautiful park and you can just accept it without trying to quantify or qualify it in any way. But our senses force us to do that. Our senses, like, oh, this food is so delicious. Well, what if it had no flavor?
Right. It limits us.
Right.
The physicality limits us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the key to it then is to allow your senses to add to the fundamental, not detract.
Right. We
Okay.
don't allow them to, we block them. What it says here is block off your senses. What I think that means is like, don't be led by your senses.
Right. And that's a big tenet of what I believe is that if you're appetite driven, you're going to be at its mercy.
Yes. That's a beautiful way of putting it, right?
Yeah.
Like if I'm driven by, and this is like foodie culture, right?
Yeah.
Like we built foodie culture and then foodie culture went into like instead of like very expensive fancy things, it went down to drive-ins, diners and dives, right? Like that's sort of like that's a different foodie culture and it's like now everybody can engage in foodie culture because now it's a market. It's like
Yes.
they the our senses are being hijacked by marketing and we're being fooled into thinking there's substance here.
Right. And I do that in the relationship arena. I believe that we are driven by an appetite for the way we connect. And often it's if it drives us, we're then at its mercy when it changes.
That's
But
right. Yeah.
yeah.
We are then we play the victim of
Yeah.
that experience.
Yeah, no, this is a great one. I'll have to I have to remember this one because I think I like for me the what really hit hardest of all was the blunt, the
Blunt your sharpness.
yes, I think that why do we often feel that if we can cut through something, we do a better job than if we exist in it, you know?
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah. Like we yeah, I like your take on that. Sharpness, sometimes I think of sharpness as alertness, and it's like to be more fuzzy. We're always trying to get our vision to, I wear glasses. I've worn glasses almost my whole life, and we're always, like I've spent my life wearing glasses, so trying to repair my vision so that I can see the edges. But sometimes the softness of how I see without my glasses is a really interesting experience.
I think as a parent, and I had situations where we actually rescued children. I think that my experience has been that sometimes we feel that we need to forge ahead and be a warrior, and sometimes people do need us to be a warrior for them, and there are times for that. But I do think most often, the blunt edges come back and cut ourselves
Yeah.
when we are that warrior. And I think that there's, finding the balance in that of how to be an advocate for those who have none, and versus existing with them and giving them the strength to be their own advocate. These things, they all kind of seem to come back to this idea that the sharpness of who we are, maybe it really comes down to what is it that we're cutting through.
Yeah.
It might be good stuff. We may be making more damage than good.
Mm,
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good.
yeah.
Well, thank you. This was wonderful, Martin John. I appreciate you always.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I don't know if you want to stick around. I am going to read this last section.
Oh,
Brings us
sure.
through,
Oh, go. Yeah, I
which
thought you
is,
were.
yeah, it says, be like the Tao. It can't be approached or withdrawn from, benefited or harmed, honored or brought into disgrace. That comes up before that last line that we brought to the beginning, and that's an important thing. It's like it's staying like, do all of these things that is part of your primal identity.
Right.
And when you can do that, then you can be a little bit more like the Tao, because it can't be approached or withdrawn from. It can't be benefited or harmed, honored or brought into disgrace. And that's the thing. Nothing, like, all of those things, right? Approached or withdrawn from, like, that means that, I mean, I don't know exactly how that, like, you just are, right? Like, you can, as you come close, it's like you still can't grasp it,
Right.
you know?
Right. I
You
think
can't.
that, is it the Tao? Is it, would you classify it as wisdom?
Um, I look at the Tao as being the void within all things. I don't like the Tao. Is it's part of consciousness. It's part of, like, it is that which is deep within you, and it is the system that is running under everything.
Okay.
It is like we are all part of one. Like I wouldn't call it an organism, but I mean, lack of a better word. And that organism is Tao.
Okay.
The Tao exists beyond the universe, beyond the edge of the universe. The edge of the universe is God, and beyond that is the Tao.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for the clarity. I hope you have a great day.
I hope you do as well. And so that one comes to this place of, like, and that's the interesting thing about so much religion, right? Like, in religion, the gods of religion can be brought into disgrace, and they make sure that they, like, they have rules for us to live by. The Tao doesn't. You know, you can use it however you want. You can use it to. It's absolutely fine if you murder somebody in the Tao. You know, and in religion, we have these sorts of ideas that you can bring your God into disgrace by being not good. Well, the Tao doesn't differentiate those things. It gives itself up continually. That is why it endures. It's a beautiful 56. Thank you so much, Kimmy. I appreciate you coming up. Oh, Dr. Rao is going to say something, and I'm always, always, always interested to hear what he has to say. Dr. Rao.
Hey, Martin,
Hey, thank
I
you so
want
much.
to share the definition of Tao or definition of Brahman.
Oh, please do. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, what you are saying is true, but the way it is, like a simple example given is you go into a slightly semi-dark room, for example, and you suddenly think there's a snake in the corner that you have seen,
Mm-hmm.
and you approach to it and you find there's only a piece of rope.
Mm.
So the piece of rope is said to be the Brahman or the Tao, the ultimate reality.
Yes.
That's the only real thing. But we can get into illusion of thinking that it is the snake
Yes.
and build up fears, build up tremble and all that because of that. You know, then you realize, oh, I have only imagined a snake, but there was no snake. But before that, there was a snake with the scales, with the threatening posture and the danger and all that. The world is the snake that we imagine, but the underlying reality is only the rope.
Yes.
Getting to the reality as it is, that is the quest. But then you cannot ignore the, you know, the reality of the snake in our mind, and you have to work through it.
That's right. You
That's the
have to.
example
You.
they
you
use to explain Brahman. Says Brahman is the underlying reality, but then whatever is manifested is something we go through. And once we realize that, we are very close to the Brahman, and Brahman is reflected in all. Without the Brahman, the rope is not there. There is no imagination of a snake.
mm.
So, so you cannot ignore the snake. You have to go through that. That's what
Yes.
our standard reality is, which we will go through. Then we will touch the Tao or this one because it's already there.
Yeah.
So
Like we have to go through it. We have to
yeah,
face.
we
We
have to
have to
go through
know.
it.
We have to recognize the snake.
Yeah, recognize it and go through it, and then we realize this underlying thing, Brahman, that itself is reflecting as the snake also. So this world is something manifestation. We go through that, and at the same time, we know the Brahman is the underlying reality.
Yeah.
Our illusion is gone, and then we are landed up in the real reality. That's the
Right.
substratum, which is the Tao.
Yes. And even though sometimes we know it's a snake, we'll go back and then we'll look up and we'll say, "Oh, it's a
Yeah,
snake again." It's
yeah,
like
that's
no,
the problem.
we
That's the problem. You go
yep.
back all the time, but
We
then,
always go back. We're like, "Oh, yeah, that's right. It's a rope. I saw that 15 minutes ago." And then you go sit down
yeah,
and it's like, "Look, there's a snake." No, that's not a snake.
exactly. See, when you're going through the experience of snake, it appears very real. Like that,
Hmm.
when you go through this play of the world and everything, it's very real.
Yes.
But then so we want to be in the present with the touch of the Tao, and everything else is there. See, I want several times, don't be in touch of the minds, because the minds are the snake,
Right.
because they are imagining, they are kind of concluding and all that, but it's not belittling them, but understanding and going through that.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
And
that
that's a beautiful way of expressing it.
yeah, then you are always in Brahman, but understanding the manifestation and appreciating that, and then going through that.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for that. I
yeah.
appreciate that clarity.
Not just sharing, just
Yes.
kind of, we both know what it is, but how to be here. And majority of our friends may also benefited by that, So
Yes.
yeah, I love to talk to Martin because we share so much together.
Yes, I know. It's wonderful to be here with you.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll let
I'm
other
grateful.
people come, and I'll
Thank you so
to
much.
okay, bye.
Bye bye. Now we're gonna bring Dr. M on. We're gonna have Dr. Rao and Dr. M. Hey, doctor, how are you doing?
Morning. Good, good. How are you?
I am doing well. I'm doing very well. So, as we all know, we're here for Tao of the Day, and you have been a guest before, and I'm appreciative of you coming back. It's wonderful to have you. I'm glad you're doing well. Is this morning treating you kindly?
It is. I am driving to work and blessed to catch you again. Um, and thank you. Likewise, ditto on everything that you said.
No, wonderful. All right. So, do we have a number today?
Sure. Let's do number 9.
Number 9. Number 9. Number 9. So, number 9 states, fill your bowl to the brim, and it will spill. Keep sharpening your knife, and it will blunt. Chase after money and security, and your heart will never unclench. Care about people's approval, and you will be their prisoner. Do your work, then step back. The only path to serenity.
Uh, so it is saying, don't do what's prescribed. Mhm.
In our in our consumer culture that we live in today, yes, don't do what's prescribed. Yeah. That's an interesting way of putting it. I like that. Do your work, then step back. The only path to serenity. Like so many times we like to do our work and then kind of watch it. We want to control it. We want to make sure that it is it is being seen the way we want to. As an artist, sometimes it's like I stand, like I would want to make sure people understood what I meant by the painting or what like but when you can do your work and step back and just allow your work to be done, it's like, yep, I did my work and I stepped back. I don't have to baby it. I don't have to parent it. I don't have to control it. I don't have to control how people experience it. I can just allow it to be.
Mm,
That'll give us so
okay.
much more
Okay.
serenity than trying to control it.
Okay. So in the doing, don't do what they say to do, and then when you do the work, or be detached from it and detached from what others might think about it or might say about it, just let it go. Yeah, I'm remembering, Martin John, that the last time I was on your stage, it was I apparently asked for the same Tao, so I
The
suppose
same
I
one.
the same one, and I wasn't trying to, I suppose
Yeah,
I asked for number 9 last time, but
that's interesting.
I remember, last time at first when hearing this, I couldn't make sense of it, and now I am recalling everything that you reflected with me through last time, and so yeah, could always, of course, on any of these, dig a little deeper. It said, if you sharpen your knife, it'll dull it.
Yeah,
If
it'll blunt.
you always, it'll blunt it. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Keep sharp. So one, I want to step in and say, okay, well, like it's the same 9. So there you may have a relationship with the number 9 that is
I do.
right. So you have a relationship with the number 9. And we look at this translation and I can read, let me read another translation that's just as brief, and we have time, so if you have time I would love to read this. If
Of
you
course,
drink
please.
if you drink too much, you get drunk. The engine won't start if you're always tinkering with it. If you hoard wealth, you fall into its clutches. If you crave success, you succumb to failure. Do what you have to do, then walk away. Anything else will drive you nuts.
It is speaking of detachment to me.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, so just kind of being detached from what is prescribed and not thinking that the way to attain is what another might say or another might prescribe, but also then in the doing to not to then be again detached from the deed after the doing.
Yeah. So this one starts with, if you drink too much, you get drunk, and the engine won't start if you're always tinkering with it. It's this idea of excess in the drinking too much. If you drink too much, if you have too much, if you do too much, if there's not balance, you're going to lose sight of possibly the reason you're doing it, or possibly lose sight of like what can be gained from it. The
Mm.
engine won't start if you're always tinkering with it. Imagine if you're constantly tinkering with something in your life, if you're constantly trying to, like, if you're in a relationship and you're always trying to live up to the relationship, or do for the relationship, or do for your job, or if you're always kind of stepping in and never finishing the job because you think it's never finished, because you have some inability to be okay with what is, then the
Ah,
engine's never going to start.
yes, because if I am constantly wanting to change something about what is and never being content with what is, then that kind of, I mean, that says that I am, I won't accept what is, so then that can become perpetually wanting to arrive when there is no arrival,
That's
or
right.
wanting to get to a destination when it's only a journey.
Yeah, it's only a journey. So the engine won't start if you're always tinkering with it. So I don't care if it's a relationship or your job or whatever. Like, you just have to be content with where it is and be here with it, rather than being like, well, this is where it is, this is where it's always going to be, and like settling. No, it is moving. Just stop tinkering with it. Allow it to move you rather than you move it.
Flow with it rather than
Yeah.
trying to change it.
Yeah. And don't try to define it either, because where
Uh-huh.
it is now is not going to be where it is when you recognize where it is,
Sure,
right?
sure.
Because
Yeah,
it's always moving. And
I agree.
that
Yeah.
brings us back to that last line: do what you have to do, then walk away. Anything else will drive you nuts. If you're sitting here, like, do what you have to do in your relationship. Do what you have to do at your job. Do what you have to do with your body in terms of exercise or whatever, and then step away. If it's not showing you the results that you want, well, then maybe you need to stop wanting those results and figure out what you have to do now, because
Right.
every moment is different.
Yes, yes. It's and also speaking as to just kind of, it's suggesting not to be result oriented in the first place.
Yeah.
Mm.
If you hoard wealth, you fall into its clutches. If you crave success, you succumb to failure.
So those are society's prescriptions,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, that's what is set out there to go for, is to go for, let's say, wealth or success or achieving,
Yep.
and it is saying that the path is not the attempt to attain via those prescribed avenues, I suppose. Yeah.
Right. And it's about being here. Life is about being here and being present. And this is how you become more reasonable. This is how you become more attuned with just being here. You don't have to, when you hoard wealth, you're always grasping at something more, and you fall into the clutches of the wealth that you hoard. Now you're afraid of losing it. Now you don't want to pay taxes. Now you don't want to do this. It's like, you've made more money than you've ever made, and you're complaining more than you've ever complained because your taxes went up.
And you're
But
more miserable than you've ever been
right,
before.
because you're hoarding wealth and you've fallen into its clutches. And if you crave success, well, every success you have, like, it's not going, like, you're not going to live success every day, every day, every day, and one day you're going to go to bed and you're going to be like, oh, I was not productive today, that sucks, and I suck, and you're going to go into that mind spiral of like thinking. So
Uh-huh.
if you crave success, you succumb to failure. And so don't Don't crave success. Don't hoard wealth. Do what you have to do right now. Don't even think about everything else. Do what you have to do right now, then walk away. Anything
Yeah.
else will drive you nuts. And how many of us are being driven nuts right now because we want something else?
Well, because we are defining it as a, we are limiting it and defining it, and therefore limiting and boxing ourselves by thinking that it's in one particular direction or another, and then just trying to walk there, as opposed to um, just being, I suppose, in the here and now. Yeah, it makes sense. It is saying that it is in a way, it's saying that it's not in any, gosh, I feel like I keep repeating myself, but it's telling me that it's not in any particular path or definition, and that were you to try to box it into a definition or a path, that will lead to misery, and that all of them will not serve well. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter if it's success you think you're going for, or if it's money, or if it's eternal salvation, or however, the moment that you try to define it, you have already limited it,
Right.
and thereby yourself too.
That's right. And I think that, like we repeat ourselves because it is, words can't really express the depth of
That's right.
of the understanding of this. When you understand this, like it would take you books upon books to really explain all the intricacies that you understand. Because the intricacies of understanding this is like, I just have faith in this moment. I have faith in the fact that this moment consciousness is driving the boat. And I am just on the boat on this sea of consciousness. And I know that it is going to take me to the right place. But in a world of logic, in a world that we live in, we want proof and we
That's
want
right.
something else. And we
Yes.
want all of these things. We want to make sure that we have security. And yet, security is inherent in the world.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. It's and security is an internal condition anyway, but
Yes.
we keep trying to like seek it externally and try to arrive at it.
Right.
Yeah, gosh, very profound. And in a way, of course, like what is not, can't be delivered or transferred, like exactly like you said, or communicated in words in the first place.
Yeah.
So in a sense, yeah, in a sense, anything that you could say about it is not going to contain it or transfer the experience thereof, I suppose. Yes.
Yeah. It's so interesting because, like, you can't do that, right? You can't understand things. Like, I mean, you can understand things, sure, but it's like you can't just transfer that understanding. Like like when we talk, we're talking in the space of knowledge, in the space of the brain. And as Dr. Rao and I talk about all the time, that's not where the truth is. That's the snake,
Right.
right? Like that's not
Yes.
the
Yeah.
rope. That's not the Tao. And so no matter what we say,
It's not
it's
in the
always
words.
it's not in the words. It is about embodying this idea, and it is about embodying that which we understand this to be. And if we try to understand it through knowledge, through our brains, then
It's a vain
it's
effort.
right. It's a vain effort that's going to drive us nuts. Do what you have to do, then walk away. Right. So we can't. That's why it's great to have only 15 minutes to talk to people, because it's like we get to walk away from it and just be with it. Just be
Abs-
with it. We don't have to
Absolutely.
understand it completely.
Absolutely. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for this chat this morning. I'll keep
Absolutely.
listening.
Thank you. Ah, Dr. M, Dr. Rao. So beautiful to have you guys with me. Um, I did pick number 27 earlier, and it is one that has come up so many times, and I know 27. I almost didn't recite it, and I know I do recite it very often to people, but I'm going to read a different translation because I'm here in the Hogan translation. So I'm going to read this translation and then we're going to call it a day. If you guys like what I offer, I do have a workshop coming up in 45 minutes. It's going to start. So hit me up on DM me if you want a link to, I do have tickets that are probably not on sale right now because we're within the hour. But if you DM me in Instagram, I can make sure that you get the link so that you can make a donation. And that's all I require is just make a donation to me. You can probably, if you do that through Venmo at @MartinJohn_Garcia, I can make sure that you have the link and you can attend. I would just need to be able to send you the link. That's all. So if you wanted to reach out to me on Instagram or if you wanted to reach out to me through Venmo or whatnot, I'll be happy to get you into the workshop. And I'm inviting you because no one is showing up today. So it's just going to be you and us and whoever else shows up. So definitely, if you have the next 3 hours available, that might not be possible for everybody, but if you do have the next 3 hours available, definitely join me there. You can also send me a tip through Venmo if you're just liking what I'm offering. This 27 from Hogan states, with enough practice, you could walk without leaving any footprints, speak without stumbling over your words, do complicated math problems in your head. You could build a door with no lock that nobody could open. You could tie something down with no knots, even without even a rope, and nobody could get it loose. Masters have time to help everybody and ignores nobody. They use their resources wisely, wasting nothing. Some people call this following the light. Good people teach others who have potential to be good. Brains count for nothing if you fail to respect your teachers or to honor the potential in others. That's one of the most important lessons of the Tao. I want to honor the potential of others. I want to honor so many people. And I know there are times where I close off, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to close off to anybody. I want to be empathetic, and I want to be loving, and I want to be open to everybody and who they are. And sometimes that doesn't happen, and I want to make sure that I am. And so this is a great reminder. And this is 27, and 27 is such a beautiful one, and one that I share very often. It's one that's been coming up in my life quite a bit, and I want to make sure that I have no fixed plans, and I'm not intent upon arriving, because I want to be on this journey, and I want this journey to unfold for me as it will. I want to see the Tao. I want to see the rope. I want to know the rope. But I also want to go through this world in my body. But I don't want that experience to define everything. I want to know that everything is magical and beautiful and loving. That I'm here to enhance that. I'm here to embrace that. I'm here to love everybody. And I love you. If you're interested in joining me for my Recover Yourself workshop, it's going to be starting at 9 a.m. Central. That's less than an hour away. It's just a little over a half hour away. Shoot me a message on Instagram. DM me. If you're interested in working with me in any capacity, DM me on Instagram. I work with individuals, and if you like what I'm offering here on Tao of the Day, I would love to be able to get you to a place where you're recovering yourself. So many people have been through my workshop and have been benefited, and the people that come and work with me change their lives over 1 month, because I'll only work with you for 1 month. I'm not here to work with you for a long stretch of time. I want you to get out there and live your motherfucking life, because you are much more important. You out there living your life is much more important than you coming with me and getting better and better and better. Like, you will get better, and then you'll get better on your own, not under my influence. You're just gonna know where to go, because I'm gonna help you see that you can trust yourself, you can love yourself, and that you know all the answers. Well, I'm Martin John, the recovery mentor, and until next time, keep recovering yourself.